Hello everyone, believe it or not, we are halfway through 2024. And as I do every year, today I'm going to be giving you my mid-year best of beauty. So today's video is my top 24 new makeup releases of 2024. Before I get into sharing my 24 top picks of 2024 so far, I do feel compelled to mention that while I do try a lot of new products every single month, I have not tried everything that's out there. So if you watch this entire video and at the end you're thinking, that's odd, why didn't Risa mention XYZ product? Well, it could be one of three reasons. One, I've simply never tried the product. Two, I completely forgot to add it to my list, which is highly possible because as much time as I spent putting together this list, there is still a high probability that I forgot something. And the third reason could be that it's just not a favorite of mine. And I truly wish people didn't take these sort of lists so personally. I recently posted a blush ranking video. I ranked all of the latest new blush releases because there have been so many. And I honestly liked every single one of those blushes that I showed. I think they're all fantastic. Not a single one was a dud in my book. I simply chose a few basic criteria that I look for in a blush and ranked them on those criterias. And then that's how they were ultimately ranked 7 through 1. And somebody commented that I was so off base on my review of one of the products. And then she went on to say that I am a joke. I'm a joke. So normally I just ignore comments like that, but I felt compelled to respond to her by saying, just because I have a differing opinion on a makeup product makes me a joke. Just because I thought that one blush wasn't as good as the others that I've tried, that means I have no credibility. Now I understand most people aren't like that. Most of you that are watching, probably 99% of you, will take this list or any YouTuber's review with a grain of salt. My experience doesn't invalidate someone else's experience. Their experience doesn't invalidate mine. So what I'm trying to say is that this is just beauty. It's fun. It's not brain surgery. It's not rocket science. It's not politics. This is makeup. So of course I love when people agree with my assessment of a product, but I also am okay with people disagreeing as long as it's done in a respectful manner. The bottom line is, let's not take this too seriously and just talk about some really good makeup. All right, why don't I start with foundations? These are my top 3 foundation launches of the year. I own upwards of 40, maybe even 50 different foundations, and these are the 3 that I find myself reaching for the most. Please keep in mind that I have oily skin and I live in a very dry climate. Obviously, skin type is one of the main reasons why someone would select a particular foundation, but your environment comes into play as well. If a foundation is labeled as being dewy or glowy, most of the time I personally am going to avoid something like that, being that I do have such oily skin. But if you do feel like you can get away with wearing something dewy and glowy when you're in a drier climate, it might be a whole other story if you're going to somewhere like Louisiana or Florida in the summertime. The first new foundation release of 2024 that I fell in love with immediately was this one from About Face. I love the coverage, I love the wear time, the price point is good. The only thing that I don't personally love about this is the packaging. I'm not a huge fan of this big doe foot applicator. I truly wish that it had a pump. And now that I'm thinking about it, there may be a pump that I could buy on Amazon that I could put in here, kind of like the pumps that I used to buy for the MAC Studio Fix Fluid and for the Estee Lauder Double Wear. I need to look and see if I can get a pump that fits. Speaking of MAC Studio Fix Fluid, I may be in the minority on this, but I really, really like the reformulation of the MAC Studio Fix Fluid. This was my holy grail. The original formula was my holy grail for years and years and years. When I would go out at night, it was my go-to. Whenever I needed my skin to look absolutely flawless, perfect for hours, that was, again, my go-to. So I was extremely, extremely nervous to hear that formula was being discontinued and then they were bringing out a new one. I know you know the feeling. We have all had products that we just adored and then we find out that they're discontinued and or being reformulated and we're just devastated. I actually like this one better. And I know I just said that I'm in the minority opinion with that, but I'm not 100% certain that's true. Because while I have heard a lot of people say they're disappointed and they don't like this one as much, I feel like I have still heard a lot of people that are like me and think that it's even better. The coverage is very similar, almost identical. Again, this has just been my experience. I find it to be a little bit more oil controlling than the original. It's a little bit more comfortable to wear. I can't say I ever really had a problem with the weight of the Studio Fix Fluid because I'm someone who is used to wearing medium to full coverage foundations my entire life. So that was never an issue for me. But I do feel like this feels a little bit lighter on the skin. And then I also like that they finally put a pump on it. My third favorite foundation launch of the year is this Tom Ford Architecture Soft Matte Foundation. This is truly a luxury foundation. It is truly a splurge. But I can honestly say this is one of my favorite foundations of all time. And reviews on this are split. I mentioned in another video where I talked about this foundation that one of my closest friends, who is also a YouTuber, a beauty content creator, she did not love this foundation. She finally got it to work for her, but it took a lot of trial and error, different application methods. From the very first time I used this, I fell in love. And believe me, at this price point, I did not want to fall in love. I really wanted to dislike it and most likely return it and get my money back. The way I personally apply it is I put a couple of pumps in the palm of my hand. I take my BK Beauty 101 brush that I probably should have brought in here to demonstrate for you, but I do have a lot of videos where I demonstrate my foundation application method. I do believe in my most recent monthly favorites video, I did put in some B-roll of how I apply this. So yeah, I put a couple of pumps in my palm, swirl it around with my BK Beauty 101, and then I stipple it on my skin, and I get just the most flawless skin. I have large pores. I have texture. I'm oily. I've got redness. And when I sort of buff this onto my skin, it feels like I'm buffing on perfect skin. So when my friend said that it emphasized her pores and texture, I thought, are we talking about the same foundation? That can't possibly be. So my recommendation to you, if you really want to try this foundation, is to get a sample if you can, because while I adore it, clearly there are people that don't. She's obviously just wrong. Totally kidding. Totally kidding. As I said at the beginning of this video, everyone is entitled to their own opinions. Okay, now let's talk bronzer and contour. These are my two faves. I reach for these two drugstore products over, I repeat, over many of my high-end options. This is the Physicians Formula Butter Glow Contour Wand. This is the most perfect dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury Contour Wand. It goes on so easily, it blends out beautifully, the color is natural, it lasts all day long, it smells good. And then the NYX Butter Melt Bronzer. When I first tested out this product, I used it in, I think it was January or February. I don't remember what month it was, but in one of my monthly testing hot new makeup videos. And all of the shades were sold out except for like the third or fourth darkest color. So that's the one I used in the video. And it did go on a little bit patchy and a little bit muddy. So I thought, I don't know how good this is, but I wanted to give it another chance in the correct shade. So once they were back in stock, I ordered the shade Deserve Butter. And now I can't put it down. The color is great for my, you know, light medium skin tone, depending on if I've used a self tanner or not. And I find that it blends in really, really nicely. You do have to use a big fluffy brush though. The brush you use with pretty much any product is going to make a huge difference in how that product applies. And I also really like to use this on my eyes as a transition shade. Now I believe there were a couple new concealers launched over the past 6 months, but to be honest with you, none of them have knocked my socks off, or should I say have knocked the ones I am currently using out of contention, out of the rotation. So my two faves, I would say at this moment, are still the Natasha Denona High Glam and the Kulfi, I can't think of the full name of it, but the Kulfi concealer. For powder though, my latest love is not a new product, and if you watch my videos consistently, you know what powder I'm talking about. It's the Jason Wu mattifying powder that I picked up from Target. It is excellent for oily skin. But Pat McGrath came out with this baby pink under eye setting powder a couple of months ago, and I can't put it down. This is such a great powder for really brightening up the inner corner by my nose, setting my concealer without having it look real powdery. I don't know why, but whenever I wear my glasses, which is almost all the time now, I get an indentation on the side of my nose right here, and it's driving me crazy. And my eyeglasses fit fine. I think it just might be the skin on my nose from, you know, having my nose done 30 years ago. I don't know, maybe my skin's just really malleable. But back to the under eye powder, it's so, so good. And then for mascara, I can't get enough of this Iris and Romeo Peptide Mascara. I spoke about this in my monthly favorites as well, and I talked about how when I pull it out, I hate that it gets so clumpy. It has these little chunks on the end, but it's worth it to me to just, you know, take a couple of seconds and get rid of those clumps because of the way my lashes look when I use this. There's no clumping when it's applied, although I've only had it for about a month, so I don't know if it's going to start to get, no, maybe 6 weeks. But I'll tell you right now, if it does get clumpier, I'm just going to go buy a fresh one because I just love the way my lashes look when I use this mascara. It holds the curl, it gives me length, it gives me volume, it's a dark black that doesn't fade throughout the day. I don't get smudging, I don't get flaking. All right, let's move on to brows. I've got some more drugstore gems for you. This is the Maybelline Build a Brow. I don't know if all of the shades are good, and I mention that because the shades of a brow pencil or a brow pen can really make or break the way your brows look. I have tried brow pens in the past that were supposed to be blonde or taupe, and I go to put them on and they turn orange. This Build-A-Brow in the shade Blonde is one of the best that I have found. I have no brow hairs in this front portion of my brows. I had my brows microbladed about, oh gosh, like 7 years ago now, and ever since then I have had no hairs growing back right here towards the front. So I have to fake it, and brow pens are the best for doing that. Even if I do the rest of my brow with a pencil or a pomade, I always go back in with some sort of pen like this and just fill in and make more hair-like strokes. And there's really no need to buy one from Anastasia Beverly Hills or any other brand that makes a brow pen for like $20+ This I think is around $10, maybe $12. Drugstore prices are unfortunately going up and up, but it's still going to be more affordable than, you know, the higher end brow pens that you can find at Sephora. The only thing I don't use is this brow gel. It's fine, but it's not great. So instead, I use the pen portion, and then I go back in with this brow lamination from L'Oreal. Maybelline also just recently came out with a brow locking product that is also very good. Honestly, I kind of find myself using them interchangeably. If I spot this one on my vanity first, I use this one. If I spot the Maybelline first, I use that. All right, let's talk cheeks. So far, 2024 has been the year of blush. NARS reformulated their blushes. Lawless came out with a cream blush. Buxom came out with a plumping blush. NYX came out with their butter melt blushes. Morphe came out with blushes. Kosas came out with blushes. Hence why I did that blush ranking video. So, because I only recently put that video up, I'm going to put a card somewhere on the screen so you can check out that video. I will also have it linked down below in the description box. Again, I don't want to go into too much detail because I have a whole video ranking the pros and cons of each one. So what I've done for this video is I sat down and I thought about which specific shades from these new blushes I find myself gravitating towards the most. So while I do stand by my belief that all of the blushes that I ranked in that video are excellent and worth trying, these are my current top picks, the ones that I will take with me when I go out of town next weekend. They will all go in my travel makeup bag. The first one being the Kosas Blushes Life in the shade Hype. This is a poppy pink blush, meaning it has a little bit more of a corally tone to it versus my other favorite shade called Butterflies, which is more of a cool pink. So if you like that vibrant pink baby doll Barbie look, I would go for Butterflies. If you want something that's a little bit more corally pink, I would go for Hype. There are 8 shades in total in the new Blushes Life range, and there's a shade for everybody. So I am cheating a little bit and counting these 2 blushes as one because I couldn't pick a favorite. And then speaking of Barbie bubblegum pinks, this Lawless blush in Gumdrop. This is so pretty, and it is blurring. So if you have pores and texture or mature skin, maybe you're in your 60s, 70s, I highly recommend Lawless blushes. Well, for anybody really. I'm gonna pop some more on because that's just what I do when I'm filming videos. I love this color. I wore this in a video when I first got it, and the number of people who asked me what I was wearing in the comments was way more than usual, and it was this shade Gumdrop. So when I travel, I do like to have a bright pink, maybe a mid-tone pink, a peachy pink, a coral, and like a neutral, almost sunburnt, plummy berry colored blush. And for that, I'll be taking this Morphe Euphoric Rush blush in the shade Intoxicated. Now, I'll admit it does look pretty dark in the pan, but it blends out so nicely. It feels weightless on the skin. I also find this to be blurring. This is another must-have, I feel, for mature skin. As is this one, honestly. It's the new L'Oreal Lumi blush. I originally tested out in Testing Hot New Makeup this shade called Glowy Gold Pink, but I felt like this was more of a highlighter. It didn't really have a lot of pigment. It definitely had more shimmer than pigment. And a few viewers suggested that I try the dewy shades, not so much the glowy shades. So I ordered the shade Dewy Peach, and those viewers were correct. This is a really fantastic drugstore blush. I do prefer it to the new-ish e.l.f. liquid blushes. I just find that they're a little bit easier to work with. The e.l.f. blushes kind of reminded me of the Rare Beauty liquid blushes, which I do like, but they're not very beginner friendly because they are so pigmented and do take a little bit more effort to blend out. These I find blend out pretty effortlessly and look really natural. Okay, I've got 5 eyeshadow palettes to talk about. My first pick barely made the cut because it was launched on the ColourPop website on December 26th, I think is what I read. But it didn't launch at Ulta until January 7th of 2024. So as I was saying, it barely made the cut. I did not buy this palette until about a month ago. And yes, I'm kicking myself for not buying it sooner. This is the Golden Hour palette. And I find it to be an excellent alternative to another favorite of mine, which I'm wearing today, which is the Natasha Denona Golden palette. Both of these are incredible. So if this one is not in your budget, maybe try this one. Now I will say there are a couple of shimmers or toppers in this palette that are a little bit, they seem to be a little bit more unique. I don't want to say higher quality, they're just kind of unique and look so beautiful on the eyes, almost like they're giving a wet look, a wet effect to the eye. And I didn't really find any of those in here, but it's still an excellent alternative if you just can't or don't want to spend $65 on this palette, maybe $70. Okay, both prices were wrong. It's $69. I have an entire video dedicated to this palette, actually to all 3 versions of this palette. It didn't get a lot of views, so if you missed it, I'll link it, but I don't know, maybe people just weren't interested in this palette, but if you still aren't, you're missing out. Morphe is making a comeback. This is truly an amazing neutral to cool tone palette. The quality really surprised me. The price point is excellent. It's a great size for travel. Each of the 3 different color stories, again, this is the platinum, there's also a gold, and then I think a rose or rose gold palette. The center shade is this stunning foiled shade. And you do not even need to dampen your eyeshadow brush to get that intensity of pigment. And another cool toned palette I am loving lately and find myself reaching for all the time is this one from Too Faced. It's the Born This Way Cold Smolder Nudes. Perfect size, perfect for travel, day to night looks. What more could you ask for? And finally, in the eyeshadow palette category, this is the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes The Neutrals. The original, more warmed tone palette has been out for several years now. And then Mario decided to come out with its sister, The Neutrals. So as you can see, the shades in this palette are definitely more neutral toned. They do not lean as warm as the original. You've still got a great espresso brown and a deep jet black for lining or to do more dramatic looks. If you have been avoiding the original Master Mattes because it does lean so warm and maybe those types of tones don't flatter your skin tone or your eye color, definitely check this out. This will be a staple in your makeup bag, in your makeup collection, because I use this not only for a simple matte look, I use this every day to enhance other looks, either to do my eyeliner with it using the black or the brown. I like to place the ivory right underneath the arch of my brow. I find that the one in the original palette, the ivory shade, is a little bit too yellow for my skin tone. This one works a lot better. And then you've got all these beautiful transition shades, shades to blend out darker shades with, shades to just do a very light everyday eye. I love it. Time for lips. My top 2 lip liners that I simply cannot be without these days are this one from e.l.f., which is only $2. It's called Pinky Promise. It is so creamy. The shade is perfect for my skin tone. It lasts me all day long. I'm still in shock that this is only $2. This one, however, is not $2, and unfortunately it's not widely available. Although it's not crazy expensive, it retails for $16. It is a twist up lip liner, and it is from the brand Ortega, created by the celebrity makeup artist Etienne Ortega. He has done makeup on nearly every celebrity you can think of. I think he's currently on tour with Lana Del Rey, and his lip products are just so, so good. But this lip liner in the shade Noobs, I honestly can't be without it. I wear this with every single lipstick I wear, or I can wear it with every single lipstick. Sometimes I like to go with a darker lip liner and sort of emphasize my Cupid's bow and maybe a little bit around here. But the base of my lip combo these days is more often than not either this e.l.f. lip pencil or this Noobs shade from Etienne Ortega. Now the lip color I am currently wearing is not new. I looked it up to see when it launched, and it was all the way back in September of 2023. So I couldn't include it in this video, but I love the lipstick shade Shy from Patrick Ta. And on top of that, I put on one of my go-to glosses. This is the Gisou Lip Oil in Watermelon Sugar. I actually saw my friend Samantha March, who is also here on YouTube, and she lives here in Las Vegas. She does a lot of lip combos on her Instagram and on her TikTok, and I had seen her use this Gisou lip oil so many times, and I passed on it because at the time, I don't know what they look like now, but the reviews of this lip oil on Sephora.com weren't fantastic. But then every time I'd see her do a lip combo and she'd top it with this gloss, I had to get it. I was in Sephora one day near the checkout. They had it on display and I put it in my basket and I can't stop using it. It's this soft pink sparkle. It's so shiny. I'm thinking that maybe the people that didn't give it, you know, a glowing 5-star review, perhaps just used it on their bare lips. And I have not tried using it that way. I always just put it on top of my lip combo for shine and for a little bit of multi-dimensional sparkle. I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but it smells a little bit like watermelons, but it's not overpowering. The packaging is super cute. I rarely, very rarely repurchase a lip gloss because I have so many, or lip oil. But I will definitely, when I run out of this, be repurchasing. And then my other go-to lip combo gloss topper that I actually can wear on its own is the Faux Filler gloss from Huda Beauty in the shade Honey. This is another product Samantha March influenced me to buy. Whenever I saw the shade Honey online, it just looked way too peachy. And I thought, that might look orange on my lips, but it does not. It's a beautiful peachy nude. So if you don't like peachy shades, then yeah, you wouldn't like this. But I don't find that it's too peachy or too orange. And because my skin tone does lean more neutral, not specifically cool or warm, I do feel like I can get away with both pink lips and cheeks and peachy lips and cheeks. So this is Honey. And I just really love the feel of this gloss. I don't find that it has any substantial tingle to it, so I can't say that I find it to be extremely plumping. There are very, very few products on the market that claim to be plumping that I actually think are plumping. And the ones that I do think actually plump can honestly be a little bit painful. I really like the NYX Duck Plump glosses, but anytime I talk about them, I inevitably get people in the comments saying, it burned my lips, I had an allergic reaction, I had to return it. Ooh, let's just say there are a lot of people that do not like those really potent lip plumping glosses. So that is not what this is. To me, it acts more like a traditional lip gloss, but I do love the formula, I do love the color, I do like that it doesn't travel outside my lip lines like Fenty glosses unfortunately do. It's a good size for your evening bag or a small purse. I actually signed up to receive notifications for when the shade, I can't think of the shade right now, but it's the baby pink color. It was out of stock. And I did just this morning receive a notification from Sephora that it is back in stock, so I may just have to buy it. All right, this is the L'Oreal Infallible 3-Second Setting Mist. When I demoed this in Testing Hot New Makeup, I did mention that it felt a little bit sticky at first, that it kind of feels like you're spraying hairspray on your face, and I do stand by that. I still feel that way. But I've sort of gotten used to it, and I'm willing to put up with it because of the way it works. It really locks your makeup down, makes it transfer resistant, and I have found myself using it a lot for body makeup. Something I like to do, I know not everybody likes to do this, but I do. I will often wear a foundation a little bit darker than my natural skin tone, blend it down my neck and chest like I did today. And yes, I'll admit that I would sometimes get makeup on the edges of my clothing. But now what I do is I spray my chest, this whole area, with this spray. Nothing transfers on my clothes. And my final product in this top 24 new beauty releases of 2024 is a hair product. This one is from Kerastase. This is the Kerastase Premier Repairing Anti-Frizz Serum for Damaged Hair. This is a lightweight, heat protective leave-in that not only helps to repair damaged hair, it helps to control frizz, makes my hair really smooth, speeds up my drying time, and makes my hair look so shiny. It's good for all hair types, fine, medium, thick, straight hair, wavy hair, curly hair. I just put a couple of pumps into my palm, rub my palms together, and rake it through my damp hair, and then I blow dry. It smells good, it works great. Yes, it's a little bit on the pricier side at $46, but I think it works so well, I will definitely be repurchasing when it runs out. All right, everyone, I really hope you enjoyed seeing and hearing about my top 24 new beauty releases so far of 2024. As usual, I will have all of the products listed and linked for you in the description box of this video, as well as tagged through YouTube Shopping. If you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to leave them for me in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, I always appreciate you giving it a thumbs up. And if you have not already subscribed to my channel, I hope that you will consider doing so. I do upload new videos at least twice per week. You can also find more fun content from me over on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. My username is the same on every platform. It's Risa Does Makeup. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope to see you in my next video.